What is it about the connection between food and home that is so important and so powerful? Why do people crave a sense of home? And how does food help them satisfy that need for home? Why is there such an emphasis on home cooking? And why is there such a mythology around home cooking? Think about it. Across the US, but especially here in California, there's a huge emphasis on how home cooking is better than eating out. It's considered to be healthier, it builds stronger families, it helps children do better in school. At the same time, there's such a mystique around home cooking and home style more generally that it has become fashionable in the food industry. Restaurants claim that they serve home cooking or home style cooking, and commercial food spaces are increasingly transforming their formal restaurant dining rooms into spaces that resemble home dining rooms and living rooms with couches and armchairs, coffee tables, mismatched dishes and silverware, and other touches meant to look homey. So why the emphasis on home? Why is home food presumed to be comforting? More broadly, why is food comforting? And why do we talk about comfort food? Part of the answer has to do with the ways in which the sensory qualities of food evoke memories, and that these memories, in turn, help people feel that they belong to a community, whether that's a family or a social group. The sensory qualities of food connect people to others, to their home community, and to their heritage. Then the question becomes, how does this happen? How does food work as a form of memory, of nostalgia? How does food comfort? And this likely will make you think about comfort food itself. What is comfort food? And why is comfort food comforting? Stop for a moment and think about the foods that you find comforting and soothing. What are your comfort foods? My comfort foods are often the things that my mom made when I was a kid, the foods that I crave when I'm sick or sad. Especially when I was first living away from home in the college dorm and I had to eat all of my meals in the cafeteria. I missed my mom's cooking, and whenever I went home, she made those meals for me and then sent leftovers back with me. Every once in a while, she would bake a box of my favorite cookies and send them to me. And for a moment, I'd have a taste of home, a taste of my childhood. Now, this may seem kind of silly, but this isn't very fancy, but Kraft macaroni and cheese, I'm sure this is a very familiar comfort food for many of us, but this is still one of my favorites when I'm feeling kind of sad. But also, being a good Southerner from Tennessee, I grew up with moon pies. I don't know if you've ever had a moon pie. These are cakes that come from the part of Tennessee where I grew up, and they still remind me of home. So whenever I'm missing home, I can have a moon pie. I have to import them. My mother has to send me a box full. And then I feel for a moment like I'm back home. Now that I'm an adult with my own kitchen, I don't have to always rely on my mother to cook my food. I can make her recipes. And in fact, she made me a recipe box of all of my favorite dishes. And so here's the recipe box. Here's one of our favorite recipes. In fact, this is one of my daughter's favorite recipes now, so you can see lots of little fingerprints on it. She also put in a recipe for the one dish that my sister and I hate, but it's part of our childhood. So my mom has this ironic streak in her, and she felt that our box of food memories wouldn't be complete without the recipe for the dish that my sister and I despised with a passion so intense that it made some of those mealtimes rather unpleasant. So she thought we could just share some of those unpleasant meals as well. But what we can see here, that it's not just the food, but it's the family memories and social experiences that are being passed down. I also now have my husband's grandmother's recipe boxes and handwritten cookbooks. And so here's one of her recipe boxes, and here's another one of her recipe boxes. And this is the recipe for the favorite birthday cake that my husband grew up with and that I still make for him. And you can see all kinds of little scribbles all over it in my husband's grandmother's handwriting. And so with this, we can now reproduce all of her favorite recipes and for a moment relive the large family and holiday dinners that my husband's grandmother used to love to host. And just by way of example, one more thing that I inherited from my husband's grandmother was a family written cookbook for their Christmas Eve dinner. And the title is How to Cook Like Mama for Christmas. And this was 1965. And so the recipes aren't necessarily very complete, There's been corrections, it's falling apart. See, you can see all sorts of scribbles all over it. None of us can actually cook these things because the recipes don't actually work, and so we have modifications. And then at Christmas dinner, there's always a conversation about whether the food really tastes like what grandma or great-grandma made. Does the soup need to be burned a little bit more or not? But it becomes part of this family lore. It's part of our family story.